Hello and welcome to another edition of the eCommerce Odyssey podcast. I'm here with Jon Warren from Dropship Breakthru, and he is going to tell me why I am wrong about dropshipping and why it's a good thing for everyone to get involved with. So without further ado, Jon, tell me why I'm wrong about dropshipping.
Well, I think you asked me this question before, and I was thinking back on it, and I thought back to when I was first, starting to get into online business, which was about 9 years ago. I was starting to explore things, and dropshipping came across my radar. And I'll admit, in the beginning, I was skeptical of it too. I think it's one of those things that, if it's not done the right way, or what I would say is the right way, at least, it is a pretty terrible thing in a lot of ways. And it's one of those things as well that I think has been pumped a lot online as kind of like, the lifestyle business or the kind of easy business, if you like, like this kind of easy path to riches kind of thing, which for anybody who's been in business any length of time will know there's no such thing anywhere.
No.
And this is certainly actually the case with dropshipping, right? It's not an easy path to riches. It's a simple business model, but that doesn't mean it's an easy business model. So, a lot of the things that people associate with dropshipping, low quality products, long shipping times, unpredictable shipping times, terrible customer service, all of these sort of things certainly can be the case once again. So if it's done incorrectly, and the method that's been pushed a lot by people online that, your listeners might be familiar with in the last kind of 3 to 5 years is AliExpress dropshipping, which involved finding, manufacturers in China of, sort of low ticket, $20 to $100 widgets, dog eyelashes and things like this, and shipping them all over the world from China through these, Shopify sites and that sort of thing.
Yes.
And, the shipping would take 3 weeks to a month. And often when the product got to the customer, it would be broken or, really low quality, inferior type of product. And so there were some guys online that were pumping that really hard and, kind of had these turn and burn websites and honestly suckered a whole bunch of people into trying to start these same businesses. And most of them are gone now, a few years later. So that's kind of one way of doing dropshipping. But the reality is dropshipping's been happening for at least 20 years, possibly longer. I know people who have been doing it for 20 years. As I mentioned, I've been doing it for 8 years myself. And we do a particular method of dropshipping, which we call high ticket dropshipping. So high ticket dropshipping is a little bit different. And the way that we do it gets around a lot of those problems. There's still, I guess, some downsides to it, right? There's downsides to every business model. I would argue that having to put up $100,000 to start a business is a downside to some business models, right? I don't have to do that to start a business. So what we do, high ticket dropshipping, we're focused on selling high ticket products. Hence the name. So I'm talking about products with an average price of, you can have some variation, but probably $800 plus. So in your terms, in pound terms, I don't know, maybe that's like 500 pounds or something like that, right? And we'll go right up anywhere in the spectrum from there up to $10,000 and beyond for a product price. So, and so we're going for these high priced products, which means they're generally high quality products, right? And they're made by established manufacturers in the country that we're basing our business in. So I'm in Australia, right? So if I was going to run one of these businesses in Australia, my business is only going to sell to Australian customers, and it's going to sell products that are either, supplied or manufactured in Australia. So the products are here in Australia. They're going to ship from warehouses anywhere in Australia, really. They could be anywhere, but they're going to ship to customers within Australia. So that means the shipping is going to be anywhere between overnight to, 5 days. Let's say Australia's a pretty big country, so it can take a while to get things from one side to the other. But for a customer, it's going to feel generally pretty much like they ordered the product from an e-commerce retailer who has the products in their own warehouse and is shipping them themselves. Right. And so what we have is pretty regular shipping times, high quality products, which have a super low return rate. I mean, our return rate, high ticket dropshipping, is probably 0.5% or less, generally speaking. People don't want to return expensive products. It's kind of a really cool thing as compared to lower price products. And, you can, on a lot of these products, you get a bit of variance, but you can find decent margins. So we'll find margins anywhere between 20, which is kind of the low end, up to 50%.
Okay.
Gross. That's a gross margin, obviously. You've got to take your costs out of that. Yeah, so that's a lot. That's the other thing. I think a lot of people assume about dropshipping is the margins always have to be really low, right? And certainly they can be, but often they're not. So it is possible to build a business in a market and work with a number of suppliers who have margins that make it very possible to do business. Absolutely. And so your average high ticket dropshipping business as a net margin, you'll be seeing somewhere between 15 and 20%.
Okay. So what you're saying is you're selling things for twice what you buy them for.
At best, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have experience doing similar things to this. So in my industry, so I'm in the nursery industry, and we'd really like to drop ship furniture, because furniture is it's difficult to handle, it's expensive. Now we've got a number of problems with this. One is that the stuff which is drop shipped so tends to be sold by a lot of people at the same price. So you don't generally tend to get things where you're the only person, there's no kind of virgin territory out there of people that are not selling, no one's selling these products. And the second thing is that there's very few suppliers out there that have sophisticated systems where even either they know what their stock levels are, or they can provide you with an up-to-date stock level. So what happens is that people will you'll end up listing these products, and there's this long kind of process. You send the email to there's no straight through processing, so you send the email to the manufacturer, they lose it, you need to make sure they've got it, they send the product, or they then don't send it because they're waiting on stock, and you've got this customer who's waiting, and you end up just juggling a lot of balls. And in the end, we've just never found a way of making it work. And to give you an anecdote, you're aware of Tony from Zappos? Yeah. So I don't know if you've read his book, which is quite good, even though it should be pointed out he killed himself recently. So perhaps it's not such a good story. But he was saying in Zappos, they started off drop shipping, and then they found for all these reasons that the suppliers couldn't deliver the stuff well enough, they actually stopped doing it. And I read that and I thought that's exactly my experience with drop shipping. It's really, really hard to get it to work. Maybe there are other people out there that have got better suppliers than me. Anyway, I think that's my experience of drop shipping.
Yeah, and that does raise a few good points, I think. So Zappos, of course, selling shoes, footwear, at that time at least anyway. I don't know where they are these days, but that's where they made their name, and that's what they would have started out drop shipping. I 100% would not drop ship clothes, shoes, or anything like that. That is not going to work. Absolutely, hands down, will not work ever. I wouldn't do it. And there's a few reasons for that, right? If you drop ship a pair of shoes, each sale, you're probably going to make like, I don't know, $5, right? So you've got to do a lot of volume to make that into any real business, right? You got to do a real lot of volume. And that is going to cause problems with the dropshipping model, that level of individual orders. The way we do it, so, and an example I use a lot because it's a product I was working with fairly recently. I sell an infrared sauna for $7,000 US in the US, right? I'm making on that, like in my pocket, $2,000. One sale, right? How many of those do I need to sell? How many orders do I actually need to manage to make the same as I'd have to sell, hundreds of pairs of shoes, right? So this is where it gets interesting, because you don't actually have to manage that much when you do it the way we do it. So yes, you do still have some of those potential downsides. One of the downsides of the business model is that certain elements of the shipping process are out of your hands, right? Because you're relying on the supplier to put it together, put the box together, get it ready for shipping. You can still arrange the shipping yourself through your own carrier if you want to, but you've got to rely on the supplier. So that's definitely a downside. The flip side of it is, though, as compared to an e-commerce, a more traditional e-commerce business who's got a warehouse full of stuff, I don't got to have a warehouse full of stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't have to front up the money to buy that. To me, that's a downside of the traditional e-commerce business model. I don't have that constant cycle of having to front up 20, 50 grand to fill my warehouse every few months because I'm running out of stock.
Yeah.
That eats up a lot of cash. I never have that. I make money. Guess where it goes? It goes straight into my passive income stream every month.
Mm-hmm.
There's no
Well,
stock coming in.
I completely agree with you. I
There's
completely agree.
there's ups and downs.
Yeah.
The other
Look,
thing I'd say, I wouldn't do furniture either.
yeah.
So we don't do that. We base our businesses usually around passion or enthusiast markets.
Okay.
So my business partner, Ben at Dropship Breakthru, he built an 8-figure a year business around the golfing niche.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Fantastic business, amazing business. And where they ended up taking that was they went from the dropshipping thing where they built a really big business, got a massive customer base. And what do you think they did next? They brought out their own products.
Right. Okay.
Their own branded products, which they got manufactured. So this is where dropshipping can take you. You start dropshipping, you build a customer list, you get to know your market, you have a pool of customers that you can say, hey, what product would you love to have? What do you think is missing from this interest that you have? You go out and build that product based on their feedback, and boom, you straight away can start selling it.
Okay.
So it's actually a cool way to get into what you might class as more traditional e-commerce if you want to get started and you don't have a lot of capital, right? It's a great way to test markets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't have to be the end game. And I think in some ways, this is what might be interesting for somebody who's running a traditional e-commerce business like yourself to say, let's say you're up and running, you've got a growing business, and you've seen some opportunities with different categories of products to what you have, but you're not sure if it's going to work. Well, and so you don't want to commit a large chunk of capital into, buying in stock of these products when you're not really sure if it's somewhere you want to go yet. Well, go and find some manufacturers, get them to drop ship those products for you in the beginning, and go and see if you can sell them, how they sell, how they work. And then based on that, you can say, well, actually, hey, this looks pretty good. I don't want to keep drop shipping these things, but now I've got some certainty around how the marketing around them works and all that sort of thing. I can now go and place some orders for stock and, probably get some better margins, and all that, and have a bit more control over the shipping, which is actually going to improve the experience and all that sort of thing. So
how do you find, so suppliers, so my experience with suppliers is typically they want to sell products. Because suppliers are suppliers because they effectively either manufacture things, they put things on pallets and they ship them to warehouses. And that's what they're interested in. They're generally not that interested in dealing with end consumers. And that's why they're typically not very good at it, in my experience.
Yeah.
How do you find suppliers that are interested in doing that? And how do you make sure that they're actually providing you a good level of customer service to your end customers?
They don't deal with our end customers.
So you don't deal with the end customers?
No,
they don't deal.
The suppliers don't.
Well,
so
they have to
when you
ship
run
the
a
product.
dropshipping business, your business is marketing and customer service.
Okay.
Right.
But
and managing
the
relationship.
But in a dropship, they have to interact with them to the extent that they're sending the products to the customer. So
yeah. So how the process works, at least for us, we get an order on our store. Often we'll talk to the customer. They'll call up. High ticket sales, you tend to get a little bit more customer service. There can be a few more questions about the product or how it's going to ship and all of that sort of thing. So you sell the product. Your supplier will have a process in place for placing orders, whether that's via email or they might have an online portal for doing that sort of thing. You place an order with them. You're going to give them the customer's shipping address and all of that sort of thing. They're going to package it up, either using your shipping or their shipping. Can go either way. It's going to ship straight to the customer. If the customer's got any questions, or anything's, about the product and follow up, they're going to call you. You're going to deal with that. They don't touch the supplier at all. There's absolutely no interaction between the customer and the supplier. It's all done via you. And that's literally how it works.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, from my experience, there's not that many suppliers that will either drop ship or because they're interested in selling things wholesale, and they're not particularly. There's a reason why they don't already send things directly to customers, because that's not what they do. So is it that
they don't want to do the service, they don't want to do the marketing, all of that sort of thing.
so it's
Absolutely.
the shipping that they're also not interested in. My experience, they're mostly not interested in doing the shipping either. Maybe it's different for high ticket items, or very high ticket items.
Yeah.
But
Well, maybe it is. Like I say, I mean, we don't sell low ticket stuff.
yeah,
Low ticket stuff is silly to drop ship, in my opinion. So I can't really comment on that because I wouldn't do it. But if you're doing it for higher ticket stuff, look, at the end of the day, I mean, the conversation we have with suppliers, how do we find them? Well, it's just, you just go and research online and find anybody who manufactures the product you want to sell.
yeah,
And you get on the phone and you call them and you have a conversation with them. So if I'm going to go to a supplier and say, hey, buddy, I got you an option to sell more of your products, right? It's not going to cost you anything. There's no risk in it for you because I don't want a credit account or anything. I'm not going to take things on credit. I'm going to pay for them all up front before they even ship, which none of your traditional retailers are doing right now. You're chasing them around in circles to get them to pay 90-day accounts or whatever. And half of them are going bust, right? I'm going to give you constant cash flow because I'm going to be placing orders every day. You're going to have money coming into your business every day for you to pay your staff, which you probably don't have much of now. All you got to do is ship products every day. And if you're worried about the extra admin cost, I'll put a drop shipping charge on every order.
okay.
Now, if they're going to sit there and tell me, no, I don't like to make money, please sell my competitors' products. Well, frankly, I mean, if you're that supplier, you're an idiot.
Okay.
Like, I'll be honest, I don't say that to them, honestly. But it's a mutually beneficial business opportunity for the supplier. Like, they've got no skin in the game. The worst thing for them is I don't sell anything, right? Let's say my business fails. I don't owe them any money, right? They don't have to chase me. Nothing's happened to them. They've got no skin in the game.
Do you have to kiss a lot of?
Or I sell
Oh,
a lot
sorry.
of their products.
Yeah.
I
mean,
sell a lot of their products.
do you have to approach a lot of suppliers before you get ones that say yes? Because there's an awful lot of people out there trying to do drop shipping, and an awful lot of people contacting suppliers saying, I'd like to drop ship your products. And they typically, that's, as
Absolutely.
I say, how do you, is it that you manage to find people that aren't already offering drop shipping and aren't already particularly well represented online? Or is it people that are set up for drop shipping already? And you just market your product?
It can be a bit of both. So it'll depend a little bit what country you're in. So if you're doing this in the US, which has a very well-established sort of drop shipping market and probably the most well-established e-commerce market in the world, you will find most suppliers will have, had this conversation before, right? And or they'll be doing drop shipping. If you're in somewhere like the UK or Australia, which it's a little bit less common and it's a little bit less developed and people have been talking about it for a shorter amount of time, at least particularly the way that we do it, you will get both. You will find some suppliers who've never done it before and never really thought about it before. And you kind of have to really walk them through the mechanics of it, how it's going to work, why they should do it and all that sort of thing. And then you'll also get some that have had that conversation before. It'll depend kind of what market they're in and what they sell, as to how frequently they might have had contact from people wanting to start a dropshipping business. But look, the reality is that most of the people who try to start dropshipping business watched the video on YouTube and picked up the phone and called a supplier. And that's not, they're not prepared for it. And yeah, they're not going to do anything. And, they're sitting there in their pajamas thinking they've got a bright idea. So, the way we go about it's a little bit more professional. We actually build the business before we even call suppliers. So we'll build a top-notch e-commerce site. We'll put some demo products on it. We'll walk suppliers through it all so they can see how that we're going to do a professional job of marketing their products. We take them through all of that. And so, when you come at it from that perspective, your chance of getting yeses from suppliers is a lot higher than if you're somebody who just calls them and says, hey, I'm thinking of starting an e-commerce business. Can you tell me what your margins are? Give me your price list and stuff. And maybe in 3 months' time, I'll have them online. That's what most people do when they want to start a dropshipping business. It's the wrong way to do it.
So what are you saying are the key factors for success in a dropshipping business?
The key factors for success are to realize that you're not a retailer, right? So a dropshipping business is, I said this earlier, is a marketing and a service business, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you win at drop shipping if you're prepared to learn the right way to do marketing. So, and once again, drop shipping requires fairly specific marketing practices, right?
Okay.
And you have to be the person in your market who provides the best service to your customer, because these are the two things that you're in direct control over. As we've mentioned, it's not your product. You're not in direct control over product development or anything like that. You're not a product person as such, right? You're not developing a product here. That's not your control. Your control is on your marketing, your website, your service, right? So if you've got to nail those things to be successful, and you're going to be going up against a lot of e-commerce businesses that are not nailing those things. I literally have people who will call up and will say, well, I'm going to order from you because you're the only e-commerce business that answered the phone. Sometimes it's that simple. But on the marketing side, so for high ticket dropshipping, for example, we don't touch social media hardly at all. There's no
Mm-hmm.
Facebook ads. There's none of that sort of stuff. It's a big mix of, Google ads, search engine optimization, retargeting, email marketing. There's a very specific marketing system that we use. And so another mistake that a lot of people make with dropshipping, apply the wrong marketing to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so they try marketing that their margins can't support, for example.
So Facebook doesn't work. Facebook's too expensive.
Yeah. So, I mean, the whole thing with the low ticket dropshipping and AliExpress dropshipping at the time was that the guys that were spruiking it were doing it all with Facebook ads, which they were very advanced marketers, right? And yes, if you're an advanced marketer, you can make quite a bit of money out of Facebook. But if you're just a beginner and you want to throw a bunch of budget at Facebook ads, you're almost always going to blow it.
So,
particularly drop shipping. You're not going to carry, the margins aren't going to carry you at that at all.
so do you aim to have a few products that you promote heavily, or do you have a large catalog and hope to sell a little bit across a large catalog?
Yeah, so I kind of call it, you're kind of like a category king rather than a one product kind of person. So this is another difference. So once again, low ticket dropshippers will tend to focus on finding a winning product, like ride to the moon. Once again, that's the wrong way of doing it. So let's say, once again, I'm going to say, my niche is going to be, I'll give you an example. My niche is going to be biohackers, right? This is a trendy thing, right? Biohacking. I don't know if you've heard that one.
No, but, I haven't heard of
it. So these are, men and women who are, usually in their middle years, who are, into finding ways to optimize their biology, right? And so there's a range of products that they buy to do this, right? Infrared saunas, which I mentioned earlier, is one of them. Cold plunge pools, ice baths, all this sort of stuff, right? So I'm going to say my niche, I'm going to have a dropshipping store that serves that market. There's a range of products I'm going to sell, right? And for each of those product types, like infrared saunas, there's going to be a range of manufacturers that I'm going to put on that site. And I'm going to sell all the products they have. That might be 50 different infrared saunas. And what's going to happen is I'm going to try to market all of those. And I'm going to find that probably, about a quarter of them drive most of the sales of that particular product type. And I'm going to start to zero in on those a bit more, yes. But in the beginning, you test as many products as you can from different brands. And you will find in any market, there's 3 or 4 brands that sell better than the rest. And even within those brands, there's a few of their products that sell better than the rest of the products they have. And so you do kind of start to zero in on those over time. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm an established retailer. I've got my own warehouse. Do you think drop shipping would work for me, or how do you think I could make drop shipping work for me?
Yeah, so like I said, I think there's probably a couple of circumstances where it could be advantageous for you. And look, I'm not necessarily saying it would be advantageous for everybody. I think it would depend a little bit on your market, the nature of the products you sell, and where you're looking to take your business. But one place where I think it could work, and I alluded to this before, was if you've got, you're stocking your own products, or, other brands' products that you retail, obviously you've got a bit of cash that's invested into that, and you've got to bring cash onto the table to buy more. So if you want to explore new territory, what are your options? How are you going to do that? yeah, you might get a few samples or something, but a better way to do it would just be to go and find products in that new territory, whether that's a new category of product, like a new product type that you want to get into, or a completely different direction altogether. Go and find drop shippable products in that category and just market the dropship products. See if it's something that works for you. See if it's a product type that works for your customers, and then you prove that concept with the dropship products. Then you can have much more confidence to say, well, yeah, actually that's a good move for our business. I'm going to go and put some cash into that and, buy some of those products at a much better rate that I can warehouse in my warehouse, right? And you can do that with a lot more confidence than, going and spending money on something if you're not yet sure it's going to work for you, or that it's something you want to pursue in the longer term. So that's certainly one avenue that I think it would be useful. The other one is if you're in a particular product category and you've got, you might have your own product in there, or once again, you might be stocking other manufacturers' products. And you just want to really nail that space, and there's another 10 brands out there that are being sold in the market that you're not selling, and you don't want to stock them all. Well, go and approach those suppliers and see if any of them will drop ship for you, because no one market almost is dominated by only one brand. Like your brand, you're missing out on customers by not selling some of those other products. So why would you do that? The goal here, the business that wins is the one with the most customers, right? So if you're in a market where, and you're one brand out of 10, there's a lot of customers there that are just buying other products in your market. So why not sell those products as well? You don't even have to do it on your main site. You could start a secondary site to sell dropship products in your market under a different brand name, right?
Yeah.
And funnel those customers back to your main brand.
I mean, the thing is,
people who do that. Yeah.
It may be just
Also
that I
in
have
the
to
US,
say,
but
you are suggesting to me the things that I've already done and they haven't worked for me. So I think maybe I'm just maybe it's the wrong products I've been looking at. So
well,
I've got some questions.
Maybe we need to talk more offline, and I'll give you some
Okay.
tips.
How do you how do you deal with returns? Because typically in my experience, the suppliers don't want to take the returns. So what do you do about those?
Well, in my experience, once again, on the high ticket side, most suppliers will have a returns policy.
Okay.
Right? Now, whether it's as good as the one you might want to have for your business, that can sometimes be debatable, right? So sometimes it's not as good as you would like, as in you might want to offer 30-day returns and their returns policy is 14 days, for example. That's just a loose example, right? As I said, the return rate for high ticket dropshipping is very, very low. And part of that is because you're not selling impulse buy products. People don't just see these products and go, oh yeah, I'm going to spend $3,000, right? They've put some research, they've put some time. The customer journey is longer, right? They have more touch points with your business before they buy. And so usually they're very certain that the product, they want that product. They don't tend to get them home and go, oh, you know what? I've changed my mind. I'm just going to send it back. It's not right for me. That's very rare. It does happen. Of course it happens. Sometimes people are like, oh, I can't actually afford to spend that much money. I need that money back. You know what I mean? I got a big credit card bill or something like that. That can happen. So you'll either send it back to your supplier, or depending on your situation, you might just take it back yourself to wherever you are running your business from, wherever you live, and wait until you sell that product again. And when you do, you just ship it from wherever you are, that's actually a cool thing to do, because you've got the product there. And what are you going to do? Take a bunch of pictures of it, make some videos, do some YouTube content, marketing materials, you do all sorts of stuff with it. So yeah, that's, and like I said, a lot of dropshippers who find a place in their market after they've been selling dropshipping for a couple of years will actually open up a little warehouse space or get a 3PL warehouse space, and they'll start buying products, in small quantities and start holding stock. You know what I mean? Okay. So a lot of people come to dropshipping because of the low cost of entry. Like they can't, they don't have access to the funds to start buying a whole bunch of products up front, right? So they start in drop shipping, but that's not necessarily their end goal. Do you know what I mean?
Right. So, okay, another question. How do you keep stock levels in sync? So how do you make sure if you're presumably order, I mean, I don't know what your delivery timescale is, but how do you, big problem I found is that suppliers are very bad. They will send you at best a spreadsheet once a week, which says we have these things in stock. So you're always out of date and therefore always chasing orders that you'd be trying to, not being able to fill orders and spending a lot of time managing the customer service side of things. How do you deal with that?
Yep. So once again, along with the supplier being the primary downside of the business model, I mean, that's definitely one of the challenges. Once again, with higher ticket products, they don't move as fast, as in, they're, because they're not so high volume, suppliers don't tend to go in and out of stock sometimes as quickly as with lower ticket products.
Right.
Now, some will have, once again, you get a mix. You absolutely do get a mix. You will have some suppliers who have live stocking levels on a dealer website, right? So you can log in, you can see all the stock levels on their website, and you'll have a virtual assistant in your business who just runs through and updates yours based on that. You'll have some that do the thing where they send you a spreadsheet. Yep. Once again, you got a virtual assistant, you're maybe paying $100 a week. Their job is just to, amongst other things, is just to go through and update those stock levels as they come in. So it's not always perfect. Absolutely. Sometimes somebody's going to place an order, you're not going to have it in stock. It sucks, but it's not really the end of the world. And so the trade-off is, once again, I don't have to hold any of that stock. So I'm prepared to deal with that as it happens. And in any market, there's going to be some suppliers who do this better than others. And so I'm going to learn who those are as I build, grow my business. And, if some suppliers don't have great systems, they're not going to be the ones I focus on selling.
Okay. Look, you've gone part of the way towards convincing me. Perhaps I should have another look at this. So it's interesting to hear that at least because my experience with dropshipping is that I just see it from the point of view of A, what's failed for me, and B, a lot of people out there selling things on AliExpress. And I know that both of those two things don't work. So I believe that you have it's a course, isn't it? Dropship Breakthru. And I'll put the link in the details.
Thank you. That's very kind.
That's good. So I think, so the last question, I like to ask a bit of a fluffy question at the end. What are you nerdy about? What interesting things have you come across recently?
Well, look, I could be totally boring and say I'm a marketing nerd or an e-commerce.
You can say that if you like.
That's probably a given. No, one of the things I do love, you can see behind me. I'm very much into what's called visionary art. So you can see an example of it hanging on the wall behind me. It's kind of I guess one of the forefathers of it's a fella called Alex Gray, who's done a lot of artwork for a band called Tool. That's quite big if you're into sort of progressive rock and metal. Some of your listeners,
which you are, I suspect.
Yes, which I am.
Possibly are.
It's how do you term it? If people want to see somewhere that you can buy this stuff, there's a website called Threyda, THREYDA.com, that sells a lot of this artwork. But it's kind of very kind of mystical artwork. I'll put it that way.
Okay. So the picture behind you, let me just describe it. It's got some kind of Aztec style pyramids. It's got seemingly some sort of planets in the background. There's lots of colors. It does look quite prog rock. It's quite prog rock. We could see it's a little bit kind of Led Zeppelin 1975.
Sure. Yeah, I can deal with that.
It's a bit Spinal Tap. Is that fair?
Spinal Tap might be a little bit too far in
I know
direction, but
I went to you watched Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
You remember the bit where they get the feet and inches mixed up, and they get the little henge, and they get this come down. Now I went to Stonehenge, and you can actually buy model stone hinge, the model hinge bit with the three, you know, the standing bit.
Really?
And it is
Yeah,
about
right.
1.5 feet tall. And I just thought, and they were selling this without irony. They were like, you know, it wasn't like, you know, as seen on Spinal Tap. They were just
Oh,
selling.
really? Really? Right.
So anyway,
Nice.
John,
Beautiful.
it's been lovely speaking to you. Thanks for
Yeah,
thanks for
thank you very
educating us to
much.
dropship, and maybe we should all have another look. Thanks very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Bye.